Okay, so in this video, we're looking at 15 vintage European roadsters. So I'm just gonna give you the best information that I have with what I have, but if you wanna find the listings for yourself, you can check out the link in the description down below where you can find all these cars and see if they're still listed if you're interested in them. And we're starting this video out with a bang with a 1965 MG Midget, which is located in Scottsdale, Arizona. And just look at this car. I mean, it is so cute. It looks like it's perfect for back roads. I did a little research about this car here, and this is the first year of what they call the Mark II version. And it looks like from stock, this car would have come with a 1.1 liter four-cylinder that made about 55 horsepower, which really isn't a lot. But for cruising the back roads and a light car like this car should weigh only around 1,600 pounds. This could be a lot of fun. And I can tell you, little British sports cars like this definitely get people's attention. People love seeing these on the road. I remember a while ago, I had a black Triumph TR4. It also actually incidentally had wire wheels very similar to this, and I got so many thumbs up in this car. I love these shots here of the car where you've got all of the doors open. It just makes the car look so cool and so interesting. Now we're getting into some of the detailed shots that were provided on this listing. We got a little MG Midget badge. We've got these wire wheels, which are so cool. A little picture of the exhaust. You can see a little bit of rust maybe on the body there, or the paint's coming off, something like that. Not too sure why they're showing us the side panel, maybe showing the new rubber trim. It looks like it's new rubber trim to me anyways. The listing says that this 65 MG Midget has original paint and runs and drives excellent, with tons of new stuff done mechanically and a little bit of light electrical work. And if you've ever known British cars, you know that light electrical work is probably going to come with the territory. It says this car also has the rear side windows and top. The top frame needs a new top. And they've got a box of small parts that come with it. See a little bit of something going on with the paint, or maybe underneath the paint here, trunk area. But I mean, look at this like interior. Just simple, basic sports car. And what's interesting too about these cars is I feel like a lot of American cars came standard with 3-speed transmissions, but most of these British sports cars came with 4-speed transmissions as standard. Maybe it's because the engines are so small, but it sure does make it a lot more fun to drive. I'm not too sure what this is here. Is this extra sound deadening? You guys tell me in the comments if you know what this kill mat is. I mean, it's got to be sound deadening, right? Just a cute little car, perfect for back road cruising. Next up, there's this 1973 Triumph Spitfire in Yucaipa, California. Did I say that right? Listed for $8,000. And in black, I think this car looks really cool with all the little extra bits of chrome trim. Unfortunately, this listing doesn't have the best pictures, and I definitely think great pictures really help sell a car and get more buyers interested in it. Looks like it's got new LED headlights from this picture here. Let's see what the listing says. Listing doesn't say much. It says new paint, tires, suspension, wheels, brakes. And if you're serious, come and look at it. I mean, the new paint, black paint with chrome always looks great. And I think that this car looks like it could be a lot of fun. Got that sort of classic wood interior that you get in British sports cars. And I think that the 1.5 liter engine was actually introduced at the tail end of 73, and it would actually be a 74 model year car. But you guys tell me if I'm correct on that. Now, I don't know about the interior of these cars, what they were like originally. To me, this looks like an aftermarket interior, but I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Is this how the 73 Spitfire would have come, or is this an aftermarket interior? Definitely looks like the interior needs a little bit of work, but it definitely looks drivable anyways. And again, this is, I think, where great pictures can help, because I'm a big fan of making sure that cars have good pictures, whether it's a project car or whether the car is pristine. It just helps people know what they're getting into. Some people want a project car and they want to know what the details are of what they're getting into. And other people just want to know whether it's drivable and serviceable. So getting really good shots makes a big difference. Next up is a 1957 MGA. And the MGA were produced from 1955 to 1962. I believe this car also has a 1.5 liter engine, which would have been a pretty big engine for a British car of this era. It should have come with a 4-speed transmission as new. And what's kind of unique and interesting about the MGA is it's sort of the first swoopy, kind of more aerodynamic looking design for an MG. Before this, they were all sort of like that boxy, old school MG style. And also, this car was a lot wider, I believe, than the previous MG cars. But again, this car could do with some nicer pictures. To me, it looks like the paint's a little bit dull, but I don't know. Maybe just a good wax would sort of bring out the shine on that paint. What do you guys think? But again, another clean, classic interior on this car. And I just think that these cars are just such an interesting aspect of history. This more smooth, flowy design, I feel like is really elegant. It kind of makes me think of like a Jaguar of that era, which were really nice, beautiful cars. I think that this is a beautiful car also. So next up on this list, we've got a 1970 MGB GT. So this is sort of that hatchback European sports coupe, which I think is such a cool look. Kind of reminds me a little bit of an Alfa Romeo. I believe that this car would have come with a 1.8 liter engine, which produced 95 horsepower, which is one of the more powerful cars on this list here. It should have also come with a 4-speed from the factory. I don't know whether this is a factory car or not. And it's got these wheels here, which are really interesting. They're designed to look like alloy wheels, but actually they're stamped steel wheels. But I think it's really a classic design, and you'll see this sort of wheel design in a lot of cars, especially like muscle cars and American cars, trying to make that alloy look, but with an actual cheaper wheel. The interior of this car, at least from this picture here, looks really great. The listing here says that the car runs and drives great. There's been a ton of work to it, with over $15,000 of work with past receipts that the owner's done to it since they've owned the car. And it's British racing green with a black interior. But I do definitely like, especially British cars, in either black or British racing green. I just feel like it looks really good with the type of chrome that they put on there. Again, it looks like we've got SU carburetors, I believe, on this car here, and the side draft, which was very typical of these cars, and another 4-cylinder engine. This car is known for having front disc brakes and rear drums. At least the original car would have. I don't know whether this car has that. And this car, this year, introduced this black recessed grille rather than the chrome grille like you'll see on older MGs. So let me know, do you like the chrome grille look, or do you like this black grille look a little bit better? And again, this should have a 4-speed transmission, I believe, so that makes it a lot of fun to drive. This engine bay looks really cool and clean. Looks like it's got an alternator in it, which I don't know whether that's stock or not. I believe it would have had a generator, but let me know. What do you guys know? Would this have had a generator, or would it have been a alternator like it looks like we see here? But I just think that these cars are so cool looking, that sort of fastback European sports car look. They just seem like they're a lot of fun. And if you've owned one of these, tell me in the comments below, how much fun are these to drive and own? They just look so cool. Next up here, we've got a 1969 Austin Healey Sprite in Santee, California, listed for $9,000. And again, this is a super cute car. And actually, this car here is a relative to that first MG Midget that we looked on. It was sort of a deal done between Austin Healey and MG, where I believe Austin Healey produced these cars for MG and basically just rebadged them. Maybe there's a couple of minor changes done to the car, but basically the same car. 1969, which this car is the last year that Austin Healey offered the Sprite in the United States. This car should have a folding soft top rather than a removable soft top, which the earlier cars had. The listing here says that it has a 1275cc engine, which I don't know whether that's an original engine for this car or not. It also says that it has an upgraded Datsun 5-speed transmission. I've definitely driven other cars where they've swapped out the transmission for like a Mazda transmission, and it does make it a lot nicer and more fun to drive because you do get better gear synchronization, so it's a lot more fun to go up the gears and especially downshift these cars when they have an upgraded transmission. But I don't know whether this Datsun's 5-speed would have been an original transmission or whether this is an aftermarket transmission. Let me know what you guys know about what transmission would have been included in this car, but I believe it would have been a 4-speed made by a different company. This year, 1969, also should have an alternator rather than the previous cars, which had a positive ground generator, which can be confusing if you're used to working on cars and used to having ground be negative. You can really fry some of the electronics if you're not careful and you're not aware of that. This car should have also added reversing lights. Let's see whether we can see that here. Yep, you can see the reversing lights right there. But this looks like another cute, fun car to just cruise around in and hit those back roads. Again, it looks like we've got those sort of steel wheels that kind of look like they're alloy wheels, which I think is like a really cool look. There we go, another fun cruiser. I also love these tonneau cover tops. Is that what they're called? But where you can just zip up the interior of the car, but sort of leave the actual top down. I feel like that helps keep the interior clean when you've just parked it for a little while. And it's a little bit less expensive to replace if somebody decides to slash it and cut it open. Next up, we've got another 19 1960s cars. We've got a 1965 Volvo 1800S, which I think is a really timeless design. I think that these cars look so cool. This one here, it says that they're a third owner and the car was originally from New Jersey, but this listing here is in Palo Alto. Looks like the car was sitting from 1978 to 2017, and then the current owner bought it and turned it into a daily driver. It looks like they had to fix the hydraulics, the fuel system, and that the second owner had bored it out to the B20 spec. I don't really know that much about the engines on these cars, but if you know about that, let me know. And that this owner added the B20E head and a D cam, so I'm guessing a little bit of power has been added to this car. It says that the body is very straight, according to the owner. It's a little bit faded with a little bit of rust, and that black was a rare color, and that the wheels were added by the current owner, and that, let's see here, let's go back and look at the grille, that the grille is actually a 64 grille, but that they also have the pieces to make it a 65 grille, so I don't actually know what the difference is between those two. But that the car drive well, the oil and temperature gauge work, but the tach and the speedometer do not, and they're asking for $11,000 or best offer. But I just think that these cars look so cool. I love the kind of like little fins that they've got on this car, and just the design overall. Here's a little bit of the rust that the owner is showing us. Looks like there's a little bit of a ding in the grille. The interior does look a little bit rough, but you can definitely see how this car back in the day would have had a very luxurious looking interior if it was all in really good condition. I also love how you've got the emergency brake handle on the left hand side. I think that's kind of a cool, quirky feature. Some extra sound system in the back. Here's the engine bay here. Looks like we've got SU carburetors again on this car here, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, just a great looking, fun car, really classic and interesting design. Next up, we've got a 1967 MGB, so another MG. I think that this car looks really great, and the description that the owner has provided us is pretty interesting. It says that this is a sorted, turnkey, reliable, tight, fun, lovely, quintessential British roadster with a quintessential scratches, chips, blemishes, squeaks, and leaks. It's been loved and driven and loved and driven and loved some more. But I can't think of a more fun car for under $20,000, particularly if you have a well-dressed passenger. But, I mean, this car, again, classic European British sports car look to it. The owner goes into a lot of detail about this car, so it's got some great information on the history of this car. And it seems like the car is running. It does leak oil. I don't know, is that normal for these cars? I have a feeling that it probably was, but there's a lot of information in the listing on this car if you're interested in it. I believe this car is the last year of the Mark I, and it's considered the last year of the pure MGBs because of all the regulatory and safety changes, emissions changes that they had to make to these cars. The original car should have come with a 1.8 liter inline four-cylinder. I don't know what this car has in it. And a 4-speed manual transmission with an automatic overdrive, and I believe the listing says that this car does have the overdrive, but that it's not. It's a little bit finicky. But definitely check the listing for yourself to see if I'm right about that. But I do, again, love those wire wheels on these old cars. I think it's such a cool look. A little bit of a pain to maintain and keep clean, but a cool look nonetheless. Again, classic things that you don't, and a great fun place to sit and enjoy your car. The interior does look a little bit beaten up, but generally in pretty good shape. You wouldn't have to change anything unless it really bothered you that there's tears and rips in it. This looks like some of the oil leaking underneath it here. Some pictures of the suspension. Again, another picture of the bottom side of the engine. So I'm sure if you ask the owner about this car, they would have a lot of information about it and what it needs or what they've done to it, etc. But this definitely looks like a fun car to cruise around in. We can see a picture of it here up in the Hollywood Hills. Next up, we've got a 1965 Sunbeam Alpine GT. This car's listed for $12,500 in Garden Grove, California. And I think these cars are pretty fun and stylish looking. They definitely remind me of a 60s sports car, sort of like a small version of an American sports car. I do know that Sunbeam made a version of this car with a Ford 289, which was a true little mini muscle car. This one here, I believe, would have had a 4-cylinder engine in it. I'm not too sure what size 4-cylinder, and that's assuming that it's stock. But I do love the little like muscle car wheels that we can see here in this picture. And this car just, I mean, it looks really clean from these pictures here. The paint looks great. Of course, you'd have to see it in person to see whether that's true or not, but it looks really cool. This one here is a GT version, and also if you noticed, this is a right-hand drive car, so maybe why the price is a little bit lower than it might otherwise be. It's a little bit different driving on the other side of the car, especially where we normally drive on the left-hand side. But this is just another fun-looking car, sort of like a mini little muscle car look to it, without the muscle car power, of course. But I mean, even the interior of this car looks pretty clean. I mean, this just looks like, a fun driver, fun car to cruise around in. Have you guys ever owned a Sunbeam Alpine? What do you guys think of this car? Is it something you'd want to own or not? Next, we've got another Sunbeam Alpine. This one's listed for $12,500, and this one's in North Vancouver, Canada. I do love it in this sort of British racing green color. This one here, the owner says it has no rust. It's got a vinyl roof that's in great condition. They recently put in a new battery, stainless steel exhaust, and that it's been well maintained. Definitely a nice looking car for sure. Again, cool wire wheels, so that's a lot of fun. Another good looking interior. I don't know, maybe do these Sunbeam interiors just hold up better than other cars, or maybe these two cars just haven't been driven as much? Here's a picture of the convertible top, and like the window looks, it looks practically like a new top. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it's a nice looking top for sure. Here's a image of the engine bay. Another cool summertime roadster. Next, we've got a 1959 Austin Healey, and this one here is listed for $12,900, and it is a Bugeyed Sprite. These are definitely quirky, cool, fun little cars. I remember a guy in high school had one of these that he would cruise around in. It just always looked like so much fun. This one here says that it's the same owner for 50 plus years, and that it runs and drives great, and that everything works. It's got nice red paint with a black interior, and it's an original Arizona car with the original motor too. And if that's true, I believe that the original motor would have been a 948cc inline four that produced 43 horsepower. So again, not a lot of power, but this is a small light car. It's about 1,500 pounds. So probably plenty of power for cruising and enjoying a Sunday morning drive. But just, basic, simple, fun, and I think that's what these cars were known for, just being an inexpensive, fun little car, great for sort of weekend cruising. Got a picture of the engine bay, and you can see that can't really see it here because we don't have a good wide shot. Again, great pictures. I do feel like makes it a big difference, but you can see how the whole clamshell of the car opens up. And I believe that there was some racing divisions where these cars were raced, and I think that they did pretty well in their divisions anyways. Next up, we've got a 1973 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia, which is listed for $13,000, and this is in Valley Village, California. And this car just looks so nice. I don't think that white walls would have been correct for a 1973 car, but it looks correct on this car. It just looks amazing. I do kind of feel like the styling of this car is definitely very reminiscent of a 1950s car. And I guess that makes sense because it looks like the car was first introduced in 1955. So as is typical with a Volkswagen, we've got a lot of years of the same body style. You can think about the Volkswagen Bug. But, this car just looks so clean. I think that there's improved disc brakes on the 1973 version, at least if it's stock, and that it has a newer 1.6-liter flat-4 engine, but apparently that engine only would have produced 60 horsepower. Let's see what the listing says about this car here. The owner didn't provide a lot of information about this car, so we don't really know whether it's stock or not, but I do think it is a beautiful looking car for cruising. I really love the way that the Volkswagens had this metal dashboard with the vinyl on the top and the bottom, sort of really framing it out and making it look really nice. And these seats and that interior just looks really good. And I believe that this would be an aftermarket interior, but it's a really nice, clean looking interior. You can see even the headliner in this car looks really good, at least from the pictures anyways. Here's a shot of the engine bay. Just another great little European sports car for cruising. Next up, we've got a 1974 Jensen Healey, listed for $13,000 in Escondido. I think this might be the most powerful car on this list if it's stock and original. This would have had the Lotus, it looks like from the listing, this has got the Lotus 907 engine, which I believe is correct, and that would have made 140 horsepower, which is way well and above what any other cars in this list have. So I believe it would be a 2-liter 16-valve dual overhead cam engine if it is in fact stock, which would have been 0 to 60 in 8 seconds, at least back in the day. And the listing says that this car has a 5-speed in it, which I think would make it a later 1974 car, assuming that that is the original 5-speed, because I think that the earlier 74 cars had a 4-speed transmission. But I also just think that this engine just looks really cool. If you want a little bit more of a powerful European roadster for under $15,000, definitely want to check this one here out. Next up, we've got a 1973 Triumph TR6, which again is known for being a pretty powerful car, at least back in the day. And this one here looks really clean and good. I personally prefer sort of the TR4 body style, which I believe was designed by a different designer. If you guys know who that designer was, and if it is in fact a different designer, let me know down in the comments below. But I think that the TR4 had a 4-cylinder engine, but then for 1 or 2 years there was the TR250, which I believe had the same 6-cylinder engine as this car here has. I also love that it seems that this car comes with a hardtop, which I think is an aftermarket hardtop, but I do think that these aftermarket hardtops do look really cool. I almost think it looks better with the hardtop on than, well, definitely with the soft top, but then even with the just the convertible. Of course, convertibles always look nice. I believe the original engine in this car would have been a 2.5-liter inline 6 that made about 106 horsepower, so definitely some more horsepower, but not a ton of horsepower. The original car would have come with a 4-speed manual transmission, so I'm assuming that's what this car has, but I don't actually know for certain. This definitely would have been a heavier car at 2,100 pounds versus a lot of the cars on this list are around 1,500 pounds. So sort of a little bit heavier. Oh, and my notes here say that this car was actually designed by Karmann. So let me know if you know who designed the earlier TR4s and TR250s. Next up, we've got a 1951 MG TD, which is listed for $15,300 in Menlo Park, California. And this here you can see definitely a huge design difference between this car here and the 1957 MGA that we looked at earlier. This is sort of the more traditional, old-school MG look. And so I think that that's what makes the MGA just so interesting, is just that body style. Makes it look a lot more elegant. But this has sort of got that British countryside elegance to it, I guess you could say. I can definitely see wearing sort of that British-style cap and cruising around the neighborhood in one of these, looking pretty dapper. Not too many pictures of this car. It looks like it's a pretty clean car. Not much on the description here. It says that it is a 4-speed that was bought in by the current owner in 1972 and restored to its current condition. So I'm guessing that means it's an older restoration. That it was a daily driver and kept in storage. So I guess it was driven for... The listing's a little bit unclear. Maybe the person selling it doesn't have the full history of the car. But definitely a nice looking car for sure if you're interested in an MG TD. Okay, so this one here blows the budget by a bit. But this is a 1967 Alfa Romeo GTV, which is definitely one of my personal dream cars. This one here isn't just a standard Alfa Romeo Giulia, but this one here is the GT Veloce. So it's the Sprint GT Veloce. So this means it's got the 1.6-liter inline 4-cylinder engine, which is the bigger engine. The other cars that Alfa Romeo offered at the time would have been 1.3 liters. This car is sort of notable for 1967 because it would have included 4-wheel disc brakes. And in doing research on this car, because I just think that they're so beautiful and so interesting, you can tell that this one here is the Veloce version, because if you look at the sort of heart-shaped grille in the center here, you'll see that it has 7 bars across it instead of 6 bars, which the normal GT version would have had, or the normal car would have had. You can also see here that the car has got the Quattrofolio symbol, and that's part of the Veloce package. And I believe that the Veloce package also included a more luxurious interior as well as more power. We can see here some of the defects in the car that the current owner is showing us. Some rust here. The owner does say that they do have replacement panels to put in for the rust that just haven't been put in yet. So maybe that's why this car is listed at $18,000, because I think that these cars would normally sell for a little bit more. The door cards look practically like they're brand new, at least in these pictures. The trunk area looks quite clean. A little bit of rust, but it looks like, to me, it looks like just surface rust. Again, this interior looks like it needs to be cleaned, but it generally looks pretty clean. You can see that it looks like we need a new boot here on the gear shift. The back seat looks like it needs to be cleaned, but the actual material looks like it's in good shape. Doesn't look like, at least I can't see any rips in these pictures. Here's, I guess it's underneath the seat. I'm not too sure why they're showing us that. If you've owned one of these cars, you can tell us the significance of showing us underneath the back seat there. Great looking door cards. Just like, you know, the design of these door handles, just so cool. We've got the engine here, which is a twin cam inline 4. And I do think that these engine bays look really cool. Gather that there's definitely some sort of Italian issues, shall we say, with these cars. But cool cars, cool looking cars nonetheless, and they seem like they'd be a lot of fun to drive. If you own one of these, let me know. Are they actually fun to drive, or are they just beautiful looking cars? The owner does say that there was a recent head gasket replacement, which I guess is why we're seeing this picture here. And that the last time that this car was driven was 25 years ago, and that it's not that the car runs, but it does not drive because it needs a new clutch, and that the door hinges need some repair, and as you can see, some paint and body work. But man, I do think that these are beautiful cars, and they would be definitely a lot of fun to drive. And there's a lot of like interesting features again with these cars. So I want to know, what car is your favorite in this list of cars here? And then what car do you think is actually the best deal based on what we can see from these listings and the price of the car? So let me know about those down in the comments below. If you're interested in other fun cruisers, check out this video right here.